Hi, I'm Kelly from Ryve Audiovisual, and today I'm sitting here chatting with Cyril Bourke, who is an environmental remediation consultant and a health engineer. That's pretty interesting.
Well, an engineer, I was involved in healthcare, I was a pain management therapist, I was involved in the military. There's lots of different titles.
Yeah, wonderful. And what is it that an environmental remediation consultant does?
Well, we look at the problems that are occurring in homes, potentially looking at problems from magnetic fields, radio fields, EMF that comes from Bluetooth and things of this nature, disturbances on electrical fields, anything that's permutating into the house that is going to affect the sleeping, resting of people, things that tend to have an impact on chronic conditions and health, and how people use technology that maybe they could do better, maybe they could reduce their exposure to EMF and other things, and help them create better habits.
So this is a great concern, being given that we're a technology company and we install Wi-Fi and do TVs and things. So tell me a bit more about this research about technology affecting health. I haven't heard of that before. Electricity, so it's bad for us.
Well, look, as soon as you introduce electricity to the body, you're introducing a new energy that isn't ours. Okay, and we didn't evolve with electricity in the way it is today. And a lot of things have arrived technology-wise which seem great on the outside, and they're fast and they're exciting, but we haven't up until now had time to really work out what they do to us.
Right.
And industry driven by finance has just railroaded these products into our hands, and we're using them, and now we're finding out that along the way there were lots of studies that nobody wanted to talk to us about. Even back to the 1970s, the US military did lots of testing on radio waves, and they proved radio sickness was real. That was actually hidden, and it was taken away from the public view, and it was only recently released. So that alone was a sort of a warning to us all that material was taken off the shelf and we weren't allowed to know about it. Along the way, there have been hundreds and hundreds of studies that have been ignored, and we're now at a point where, like this document here, this is one large document.
Wow.
This is one document, and this is from 2012. It's 1,600 pages. It's done by 30 doctors, and it's looking at basically electromagnetic radiation, and this one in particular is looking at evidence related to brain tumours. Now, it's a bit of a hot topic, but at the end of the day, the concept that radio waves don't affect us is just not valid anymore. Something's happening, and until people are, should we say, completely updated on what's happening, you're better to plan to reduce your usage.
Yeah, because it's difficult in this day and age, with work and home and Wi-Fi, everyone is really connected. We need internet to function. How?
We're not saying don't use the internet or your phones or things of this nature. What we're saying is the way we use them can be improved. Wi-Fi is the transmission of radio waves in your home, wireless connections to the internet. But a lot of the time you don't need to have it on. You might not be using it, or you can connect directly with hard wires, with Ethernet cables. And when your company's building a house and planning a house for somebody, that's a great time to say, well, where are your desks? Where do you plan to sit with your equipment? Let's wire the place up so you've got screened cables so you don't get interference from radio waves. Let's reduce the magnetics that come off the power cables. Let's look at planning how you want to use your equipment. If you've got a doorbell with a camera on, does it need to be wireless? You're building the house, why not put the camera there and connect it so it's hardwired, so you turn off the radio waves. It's a function that's provided that really might not be needed if it's a new build.
Yeah.
Things of that nature, using the technologies, we're not saying throw them all out, but let's plan how we're going to use it.
Yeah.
I recognised that we were seeing more and more problems with people spending too much time on the mobile phone. And a business partner of mine, she ended up dying of a brain tumour. And I knew she spent a lot of time on the phone. I knew mobile phone.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that her laptop was one that she always used on Wi-Fi. I knew that she'd moved into an apartment where, when you looked at your mobile phone, there would be 30 or 40 Wi-Fi signals, not just one or two. Every building and every apartment around her all had full-strength Wi-Fi, and her apartment was like a zone where there was so much EMF that eventually I sort of perceived that was having some impact on her. And
so EMF is the electromagnetic field
created
by Wi-Fi.
By Wi-Fi, by radio waves, by telephone towers and things of this nature. And looking back, it was an accumulative thing. And I started putting my science head to it and started looking at problems, where it was affecting people, and were there any documents, were there any studies. And when I suddenly started thinking in that direction, I started to find more and more information. In fact, there's mountains of information. Here's one document. This is one document. This is 1,600 pages long, put together by 30 doctors. And it's called the Bio-Initiative. And it was done in 2012. And it's all about just low-intensity magnetic radiation. Now that's a pretty reasonable document. And yet it's only one of hundreds and hundreds of documents, all written about either EMF or magnetism affecting the body in a detrimental way, or electrical fields having an impact from cables and things of this nature, or geopathic stress, all having an impact on the body. I suddenly realised that we can focus hugely on what we're eating, and we can focus hugely on exercise and things of this nature, but if we're not looking at those types of toxins, these hidden toxins, we're missing a big picture.
So what are all these documents, and essentially what you're talking about in terms of the different EMS things, what are they essentially saying? What is
exposure or uncontrolled exposure to electrical fields, RF fields, radio fields, magnetic fields are not healthy for us. That's the simplest way of describing it.
And when you say not healthy, what do you mean?
Well, the studies show that at very low levels, genes stop expressing. DNA starts breaking down. You start seeing mitochondria changes, as in the function of cells. The electrical fields of the body that help and support function start failing. Melatonin, which is a hormone that you produce when you sleep, stops being produced. And it's actually a brilliant antioxidant that detoxes the brain and helps you sleep properly. And long term, if you're not getting naturally produced melatonin, you're toxifying yourself, you're exhausting yourself. And if you've got your Wi-Fi on all night, there's enough EMF coming out of the antennas to go through most houses and stop the melatonin being produced.
Right.
Simple as that. So as a healthcare conscious family, just turning it off when you go to bed is suddenly going to give you maybe 8 hours where your melatonin production has an opportunity to start being effective. But if you carry your mobile phone into your bedroom, that's producing another EMF, and that can then shut down that production. You've got magnetic fields which come from not just electrical devices that you might have in your house. They come from things like power lines and underground cables and wiring faults that may not even be in your house. They might be in your neighbour's house, and they'll continuously look to get back to the grid, and they may come up a water pipe into your house. And all of these things are hidden and out of someone's mind if you don't have a Gauss meter, if you don't have an electrical field meter, if you don't have an RF meter. And being from an engineering world, these are things that I'm naturally going, okay, well, here's my meter, what have we got? Here's that meter, what have we got? And I've suddenly found I'm in a situation where I'm looking at homes, discussing people's maybe concerns regarding what devices they're using and what children are using. And it's all having an outcome related to health. You know, in the last sort of 10, 15 years, the number of Wi-Fi uses, the number of hotspots, when you look at the demographics, we've gone from having a few to being overrun. They're just everywhere. And our body has not evolved to make use of these fields. It's actually affecting how we function. And young people getting exhausted and not knowing why is a failure of sleep very often. So just to create a safe place to sleep for 8 hours a day can be a real benefit to people. And there's so many free things they can do. Put the phone on airplane mode. Turn the Wi-Fi off when you go to bed. Do you really need all of your Bluetooth devices, such as wireless mouse and wireless keyboards, a wireless printer, a DECT phone? Your standard hands-free phone actually continuously transmits. You wouldn't have your head next to a phone literally running all the time. It's producing a microwave signal. You know, people, if they want to boil water, they put things in a microwave oven sometimes, and that's the same technology that's being used in other devices. But
and you think there's a strong link between that and the health in terms of infertility and tiredness and exhaustion and things like that?
Yeah, it's not I think situation. We're completely beyond that. There is no doubt now, medically. The reports are out there globally, and it's not a game that the public need to play. They just need to look at the research, and then they have to remove or mitigate those problems, reduce their exposure, find spaces where they can rest. Now, your company, you've got the opportunity to help your clients because you've got ways of supporting their usage of Wi-Fi through remote control, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Because one of the concerns in what you're saying is that we need it as a society, like Wi-Fi, to function at work and homes and things. And Ryve Audio Visual and Ryve Technology does smart homes, TV mounts, Wi-Fi, all of it, everything that you're talking about. So. Yeah, in terms of wanting to be safe and the best way we can, what do you think that we can do there?
Well, one of the easiest things is, when possible, actually use hardwire. Use Cat5 and Cat6 cables. They're a straightforward plug-in. And then disable the actual transmission Wi-Fi when it's not being used. It's great to be able to press the button if you have a visitor and they want to use their laptop for the day, and that's great. And then when they leave, press the button and turn it off and have all your devices hardwired. The more things you can connect together, one, you get faster connections, but two, you're not getting that continuous radiation that's going to cause problems. And with the smart controllers that you guys have got, you're able to actually easily implement that on request by clients. And that's a gift for children who are going to have disturbed sleep, and adults too. Yes,
yeah, we do have the ability to time it as well, so time people's Wi-Fi to turn off at a certain time, and we can also give that ability to people, and also, it's a good point. Is that the best thing that we can do? Just limit the signal?
It's probably the first thing for people to think about. Almost no matter what mobile phone someone's got, if they go into the settings area and look into, on Apple I believe it's called the legal page, and you go in there There's a huge list of information, and it's not designed to be easy. But in there, it actually tells you not to put your phone next to your head. And they are saying while you're answering a call, not to put it next to your head. And yet the ergonomics of a phone is you pick it up and you put it next to your head. That's what we've got used to. And the reason they put it in the legal paperwork is because they already know and they already recognise from a corporate point of view, they're going to have legal suits against them because they're providing a device that at the moment is considered a potential carcinogen. It's not a potential carcinogen, it is a carcinogen. That's, I believe, going to be the historical view of the mobile phone. It's going to be a little bit like cigarettes and things of this nature. We believed it was safe, and now we believe it might not be as safe. And in 30 years' time, they're going to say, why did we do this? The testing that was done by the US Navy in the 1970s, that information was made secret. Eventually it's been released, but it shows categorically from naval testing that sickness based on radio waves is very real. That shouldn't be ignored. So everybody's got a handheld device capable of making themselves ill. So they need to change the habits they have. One is to obviously look at the Wi-Fi usage and say, okay, can I plug it in? Lots of tablets and other devices at the moment appear as if they have to be used on Wi-Fi. You can actually get connectors that allow you to adapt those smaller connectors to a LAN cable so it plugs straight in. It's not as convenient as Wi-Fi because you might want to have a connection, near a table or near a desk or near a sofa rather than just portable everywhere. But it's a much better process because it's not radiating. The habits we have answering our phone maybe should be reconsidered. At the moment, from the moment we wake up, we're carrying the phone around, we almost egotistically are waiting for somebody to call us. Is there something there? Is there something on social media? Have I got a text? And yet, if we were to change our habits and say, I'm going to look at my phone 4 times a day or 5 times a day and just turn it off and leave a message saying, hi, I'm working, I look forward to answering your call, please leave a message, I'll give you a call in a couple of hours. Or I look at my phone 4 times a day, or something of this nature. Then when you come to look at the phone, you get those messages, you deal with them, and then you put the thing off again.
So do you think phones are more damaging than Wi-Fi?
Well, the thing is, the phone is a device. Wi-Fi is the way it communicates, right? If you're in a house and you're using the smart components. But you've also got 3G and 4G and potentially 5G very soon. So these are all different groups of wavelengths that are being used, and then moving further and further up the microwave setting. So that means the frequency is getting higher and higher. There's benefits and there's problems with them. So the benefit is that with higher frequencies, they believe they can carry more data faster. The negative is that it doesn't penetrate material as easily, so it doesn't go into a building as easily, it gets blocked by trees. So the way of dealing with that is twofold. One, they want to put more antennas up so it's available in more places until eventually it may be everywhere as a blanket. The other factor is to increase the amount of energy that's being provided to it, so you raise the strength, the signal strength. Both of those are a problem, particularly if you, for example, now realise that your melatonin production will be affected if your street lamp outside has a transmitter on it and it's shooting straight in your bedroom window. Now you won't be producing melatonin at night if the signal strength is strong enough, and it doesn't have to be very strong. So now you start looking at mitigating these problems, shielding bedrooms, shielding where your child sleeps, looking at the hours that you spend in the office and whether there are magnetic fields and radio fields that you can look at and go, well, can I reduce those? If I'm sitting in this chair for the next 10 hours working, are there ways of improving that? It becomes should we say, quite a big topic. This is why there are professionals all around the country who are trained to do this, to look at it with quite expensive equipment in a professional manner and plan how you're going to live and how you're going to work in a healthier way using these technologies. Our company is Health Express World, and we provide dirty electricity tools as well as shielding equipment, and we work directly with GeoVital, who've got over 35 years experience in Europe, and they developed clinics and a very special measuring equipment to look at how voltages and energy gets caught on the body itself, because you can measure in the air and see how much radiation is there, but that's only a measure of what's in the room. You and I have different metabolic processes, and you may be more sensitive or less sensitive to those energies than me. My body may pick up some of those energies quicker or hold a charge. We won't know that until we actually test with a dedicated meter that can check your body field in this room or in your bedroom, and compare it with your partner, for example. And this is why often you might have a situation in a house that's very common, where maybe one person in the house is saying, you know, my skin, it feels like it's burning, I feel irritated, I'm not sleeping, and the other person is asleep all night and they don't notice it, and they think their partner's mad. It's a story we hear again and again, and it might take 5 years before both of them are going, I think we've both got the same problem, you know. And in that time there's conflict because one can't feel it and the other one can. But it's accumulative, and we see the situation get worse and worse until eventually it's obvious to both. By then, significant problems and disease often can occur. If you haven't slept well for years on end, it's a natural outcome. You're not going to be well. So it's revisiting what we do with the technologies we've got. I'm not saying throw everything in the dustbin. I'm saying let's use them smarter and protect areas we sleep.
So you mentioned dirty electricity and tools that you use with your company.
Yeah.
What are those? What are they?
Here's one. This is what's known as a Stetzer meter. So David Stetzer is an engineer in the USA, and there's a Professor Graham who worked with him, and the two together were asked to put together a way of measuring what's known as microsurges. And they're actually asked by the Russians. The Russian governments realised that in their buildings, their employees were being subjected to aggressive signals, dirty electricity that sits upon the normal wave of AC power, and lighting and machines and a whole series of domestic and industrial equipment causing very spiky energies that's visible on an oscilloscope. And they found that this was linked to a whole series of chronic conditions in health, and they wanted to try and avoid it and protect their employees. David Stetzer was recognised as an engineer who would be able to support them, because they didn't want every employee to have an oscilloscope or have something awkward to do. They just wanted to hand out something and go, check this, and if it was okay, it was okay, and if it wasn't, they'd be able to work with it. So there's no buttons on it. It is as simple as that. You plug it in and you get some numbers, and those numbers go from 0 to 2000. And that's a linear scale looking at microsurge, dirt on the power.
Right.
And you get terrible signals from things like air conditioning units. You get it. Some of the worst I've seen have been from solar panels.
Right.
So we think we're helping the universe by creating electricity from the panels, but we're doing it at a cost. We're doing it at our cost. Our nervous system is being affected, and the studies show that. And but it's easy to rectify. Plug one in, get a number and see, okay, is it over 25? Is it over 35? If you've got a solar system, it might start at 1500, 1800. Wow. Massively over what's considered healthy. And the World Health Organization have written documents actually stating the values they feel are suitable, they actually came up with 35. So that's a huge difference to what we see when you look at even the basics in a house.
But this device here, that just measures it?
It just measures it, it's
Yep.
very straightforward. And then you have filters. Now these filters, got two I've put together there. These filters are very straightforward. These are set up for Australia and New Zealand, and they plug straight in the wall. Effectively there's a big capacitor in it, and those capacitors then catch that dirty electricity and allow the sinusoidal waveform to continue smooth. And they've done studies looking at diabetes and various other things, emotional states with students and teachers in schools, and seeing concentration levels, the capacity to sleep, all sorts of things. And we get loads of feedback from our clients. When they plug these in, they sort of say that the house feels quieter, even though they can't hear noise. What's happening is we're calming those electrical fields that are affecting them and agitating them. Now, any time you have, shall we say, electricity in a house, it's a compromise. The best thing to do would be not have electricity, and then you'd be in a much better state. But if you're going to have electricity at your desk, if you're going to have it in your house, smoothing it is really, really worth doing. Big changes in people's health and mental state. Very straightforward and easy to do from home.
So they just plug into the wall, it
That's
seems?
it. They just plug straight in, and you don't lose your socket because you've got another one at the back there. And it has an LED to tell us, yes, it's turned on. But it's not about plugging things in and smoothing what comes from your television or your computer. It will do, but actually this end is what's happening. It's connecting the filtering directly into the house wiring. And it'll go into there, and it'll go out to the breakers. It'll go as far as it can to smooth. As a result, because we've got many electrical devices throughout the house that produce these micro surges, we end up recommending that people use these throughout the house in various areas. And some houses might need 10 or 12 or 15. I had one gentleman who was in a caravan, and he ended up using about 3 or 4. So it all depends how bad the supply is. And that's why we say measure it, and then you'll know. And it's important to have a measuring idea, because when there's a change, let's say your neighbour suddenly fits solar, you'll buy their dirty electricity. It goes from their home setup, their inverter, it goes onto the grid, it comes straight in your front door. So this week you might be great, and you might only need a few filters, but if your street suddenly has a rush and half a dozen of them have got solar panels, all the houses are affected. So you're looking after your family, but you're also monitoring what's happening in the street. But this is only looking at one area of the electrical fields. Things like wiring issues and things of this nature can cause large magnetic fields in the house. Those are directly related to lots of studies that show problems with health conditions and general well-being. There is electrical fields from having the wiring in the wall itself. The traditional Australian household is they've got the main bedroom, and you've got a double socket either side of the bed, and the wiring tends to go behind the headboard, and your head is like half a metre or less from that wiring. Even when the power is off, as in the lights are out, it's still in the wall. It's still 50 hertz, on, off, on, off, on, off. And that's inducing voltage into the body that nature didn't intend it. And there are ways of resolving that as well. We have load sensing breakers. So that's a small device that goes into the power distribution board where all your fuses are now. And it recognises when there's load or something being used in a circuit. And when you turn off the last light at night, it turns the power off all the way back to the breaker. So you don't have that pulsating field. We have one dedicated line through to either a fridge or your household alarm system or something that you really need on. But the rest of the house, it can shut down. And then if you get up and you want to go to the bathroom or you turn a light on or something, everything comes back as you wanted it, and you wouldn't even know it had been shut down. But when you're lying in bed, there's no pulsating field in the wall. that alone can have a huge impact on someone's health.
Mm.
So there are ways of resolving these type of electrical interferences to you and your family and your children and even your pets. Whether you've got the power on and you want to clean that electricity with filters, or if you're not using it and you're asleep, it can be turned off all the way. And these are all things that can be installed without too much problem.
Right. So what does one of these cost, I suppose?
Look, a meter's about $200. If somebody buys a single filter, they're normally around $100 or so. If somebody has a house full, there are discounts for bulk boxes, etc. It's common to maybe have 15 or so, and they work out about 1,100 Australian at the moment. But these are things that really make a big difference to people's sleeping and health. And if you can't sleep, you don't have any health. And other things to think about is in virtually every street in this country, we've got transmitters or close to transmitters for mobile phones. And they're permeating right into the building, and they're having an impact on people's sleeping as well. And there are paints that are now available where people can paint the wall of a house and actually use that as a barrier to stop these signals coming in. So if you look out of your window and you can see a transmitter tower for mobile phones, you're going to be in a significant field. You're going to be in a field that is affecting your biology again and affecting the mitochondria and the way the cells work and everything else. You can make a choice and say, I'm going to put a block here. And if you get a building biologist or a geovital specialist or one of our staff to actually come to your house and measure with proper equipment, we'll be able to tell you exactly the values there. And then you're able to paint a wall and create a safe area.
Well, being a audiovisual and internet company and electricity, electronics company, we're quite concerned about this in this documentation and look forward to implementing some of these things to make a safe environment. And
we've got an audio file. Somebody who absolutely loves their audio equipment. They don't want any spurious fields coming in and getting into their speaker systems, their preamps, their amps. They don't want any of those areas being affected. And it's traditional to use shielded cables, and it's gold connections and all these other elements that really bring the quality of things up. But if you've got a strong signal from a tower coming in, it'll try and get in everywhere it can. So yeah, being able to shield a room creates a brilliantly silent, from an EMF point of view, a brilliantly silent room. So it's not only restful, but it also supports those wonderful stereo systems that can use all of that fine information for music.
Yes, wonderful, beautiful. And so why do you think not much has been done about this to date? Because this isn't new information, it seems.
No, the whole topic has been there, absolutely visible. If you go to Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Holland, you'll find they're all using paints and shielding, and they're aware of what's happening when it comes to radio waves, magnetic fields, etc. Here we have been left behind. Around the world there have been, over the last 6 months, numerous webinars, seminars, conferences about EMF, mobile phones, electrical fields, and the rest of the world are talking about it and they're acting on it. They've rapidly realised that it can't be hidden, it needs to be resolved, it needs to be worked with. Here in Australia, we seemed to have fallen behind. We are not being informed by the media about what's happening globally. And from a political and a medical point of view, there is, shall we say, ignorance, or that's how they're, shall we say, we're going to have to perceive it. There may be something else going on, but let's say for the moment, let's be charitable and say there is ignorance. There's no room for that now. The documentation's out there, the reality's out there, and it's a big opportunity for people to make changes and help themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So in terms of household items, I suppose, like things that people can do now, you mentioned Wi-Fi, turning off the power in mobile phones. What about microwaves?
As in a microwave oven?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's a bit of a pet hate of mine.
Because there's that thing, that idea that, you know, Mum says don't stand near the microwave.
Well, there's good reasons not to stand next to a microwave. We did a test, actually it was only today, in the training area. So this is GeoVitals training here in Melbourne. And we took a device that can measure the absorption of radio waves into the body, and as a demonstration actually turned the microwave on. Now the in-air value, which is what people normally check a microwave with, said that it was leaking, and it sort of ran out, or should I say had low values after about 2 meters. But when we checked what was happening to the body was picking up the microwave. We ran out of room actually in the training area, and it was about 7 or 8 meters, and it was still picking up huge spikes that were occurring from the microwave. So the body of the person is actually like a collector of EMF, and it was literally running straight into the person that was holding the antenna. We could see it on the readings.
So most people measure the device and not so much the body.
They tend to measure the air, and air measurements are only so good. You're not air, I'm not air, I'm water and chemistry, and that picks up the energy and the transmission from the microwave much easier. It collects on us. So we've been fooling ourselves thinking, oh no, in the air I can't see anything. Well, the reason you can't see it is because of the medium. It's already collected on you. It's a test that if we had the meter, which I don't have it here today, you would be quite frightened when you see it. From a usage point of view, microwaves are really not good for food. The vitamins and minerals and the bits that you eat food and want the best of it come from. And it actually smashes those, and it uses that reaction to warm. So by the time it's warmed it up, it's actually destroyed the things you were looking for. If you do a simple test, anyone who's got a microwave at home, they can do this. Get yourself a tray of seedlings, take some tap water, take some rainwater, and boil up some water in a microwave and let it cool. And then divide the 3 plants up and just put microwave water in one, kettle water or town water in the other, and rainwater in the other. And the microwave one will be dead in 2 days. The others will carry on growing. But the microwave one, it'll die straight off. Now if you're predominantly water, I'm predominantly water, why would I try and add a toxic water to me? And it's toxic not from a chemical point of view. You won't see any toxins. If you look at it from a spectrum point of view, you won't see any new toxins, but it restructures the water in a way that the body doesn't like. It doesn't like it, plants don't like it, and you'll see it as soon as you try it. It's a worthwhile, fun experiment.
Yeah, sounds it.
So this device can look at magnetic fields. Now, where we are, let's say about 30 meters or so from the street. But if we were to pick this up and walk, we'll find it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Do you want to do that?
Sure.
So here we are in the back of the house. As we walk through the house, you notice the numbers are going up.
Oh goodness.
Now those numbers are going to keep going up. I know that because yesterday...
Oh my god, 0.9.
Right, now at 1 milligauss, the studies show us that it's affecting gene expression and DNA.
Now? That was a 1.
Yeah.
A DNA. Oh!
We've just opened the front door. Now, we're already over that threshold. We know the medical studies show us that will be definitely affecting us. And we haven't gone out into the street yet. Now, the government have a safety level of 1,000 milligauss. Well, at 1,000 milligas, you won't be able to think straight. You'll be a wreck. You're already feeling exhaustion, spending a day in an office at 1 milligas. If you were living in that situation continuously, this is a recipe for a health problem. Let's see what happens as we step over the door. We're 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.5.
1.7. 1.12.
We're
2, and it was only 5 metres or something.
2. Yeah, we're now in the street at 2.6.
2.6.
And there are no overhead power lines.
No, there isn't.
Now, if you were looking for a house, you'd say, well, I don't want to live in a street with overhead power lines.
Correct.
And yet, where's the power line?
3, 4. Oh, 5. Oh my goodness.
We're looking at 7, 8, 8.8, 9, 8.
9.
Okay. Any guesses where the power line is?
Under the ground.
It's under here, right here. So this field is radiating right into the house. Now, the average person doesn't own one of these. But if they have a consultant come along and they're looking at buying land or they're looking at renovating, this may have an effect on whether they decide to invest more in that house or whether they want to build in that location. Because this type of information long term can have a big impact on their own health, their family's health, their energy levels. That's such a simple test, and a GeoVital consultant or someone from Health Express World can come and have a look and really help. And this is only one of half a dozen meters that we bring that look at really serious values, and we can determine, is this a house you want to invest in? Is this somewhere you want to live? And how can we best improve that condition so that you and your children and your animals get the best out of life?
So what are these that you've got here?
Okay, well, as one of our roles, screening people's homes, where if we find high levels of radio waves and electrical fields, we have to find ways of shielding and protecting. Now, this material is a copper that's been coated in a resistant material, so that we can literally nail it up inside construction of a house, and we connect them all together and earth it, and it's able to take electrical fields and pull them down and put them into the earth.
Oh, right.
So
through the copper.
Yeah,
I was going to say it's got holes in it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's a mesh. It makes it light and easy, and it has a huge impact on the environment coming into the house. And if you're building a house from scratch, in the same way that somebody would plan their theatre and where they want their lighting and their products, they can build this stuff in. They can build it in so that as the environment gets worse and worse with the introduction of 5G and 6G and wherever we go in the future, they can create barriers for these types of technology getting into their home, and they choose what's coming in rather than get overrun. And this comes down to things like curtains. Now, this material here is a combination of copper, silver and a polymer. And it just feels lovely and soft, and you wouldn't realise that that's actually an actual barrier for electrical fields. And telephone towers and things of this nature get held back by this. You can turn this into curtains and also surroundings that go around beds and bedrooms, and that dramatically reduces what EMFs get into the cot or in your bedroom. Again, that helps maintain your melatonin production, because now you're not having EMF affecting it. And these materials are just fantastic for that. And you know, it was just so soft and easy to use.
Yeah,
it's quite pleasant. So these materials are two of the materials that we use. We also use a graphite paint. That paint can also be earthed, and we can basically turn a bedroom or an office or anywhere into an RF shield, so that you're not getting bombarded with unwanted energies from these towers. And that's a great retrofit for, if somebody's already built their house and they're thinking, well, I don't want to move, how can I help myself? Well, you can paint it. If we're painting from new, we might be able to paint in the outside of the building and then screen the electrical cables so that there's no power problems there. We can put in dirty filters for when they're dealing with power during the day. We can build in curtains and materials of this nature. We can build screening into the floors and mats. We also have items that people can put into rooms to suppress some of these energies. And there are other things that people take for granted, such as their mattresses. If you've got a mattress with lots of coils, magnets, metal, they're going to pick up EMF, they're going to pick up electrical fields, and they work like directional antennas, and they fire this information back into the body. So if you've got electrical fields around the room, they're inducing fields in the coils in your mattress, and now you're being radiated in bed. So we have special mattresses that don't have any of those features, and are designed still to be very healthy and useful. And they've been in use in Austria, in clinic for over 30 years now. So they've been developing these technologies, and it's common in Europe, and mainly in Europe it's come from, to use these type of things. Here in Australia, people aren't yet aware of it. This is why GeoVital and Health Express World are providing these technologies to really help people in the home.